Donald Trump's legal team is once again asking for a mistrial at his hush money trial in New York. The judge is expected to rule on that shortly. Meantime, Stormy Daniels wrapped up her testimony today. Prosecutors argue Trump paid Daniels to keep quiet about a sexual encounter they had, then disguised the nature of that expense to protect his 2016 presidential campaign. Trump's defense lawyers tried to discredit Stormy Daniels during cross-examination. We get the latest from reporter Sally Patterson outside the courthouse.
Well, Jacqueline, as you say, after Stormy Daniels wrapped up her testimony, the second day of testimony that she's given, we've begun to hear again from other witnesses who are really bringing us back to what this case is all about, and that's business records. But what's been some of the most interesting testimony, I'd say, so far is that of Daniels. She's an adult film star who is really at the very center of this case because it's the alleged affair that she had with Donald Trump, which is being looked at by the jury involved in this trial. A reminder of some of her testimony that we've heard over the past few days. Daniels claims to have met Trump in 2006 at a golf tournament. She says the two of them spoke, and he later invited her via his bodyguard to his hotel room. And there, she says, the two of them sat and spoke about her career, about the porn industry, potentially even going into business together. She then alleges going into the bathroom, and when she came back out, she says Trump was lying on his bed wearing just his underwear, and she says a sexual encounter then took place. She spoke in her testimony about the power imbalance that she felt between the pair of them. She was much younger than he was at the time. He was a powerful businessman. She was early on in her career. She said she wasn't necessarily forced to engage in sexual relations with him, but she says she felt that there was that disparity in power there. Now, when Trump's team had the opportunity to cross-examine her, they really tried to tear apart her testimony, either by poking holes at her story, looking at her memory, and perhaps some of the disparity between what she said in this courtroom and what she said previously in different interviews. They tried to claim that Daniels had only really come forward with this story in order to promote herself, in order to gain money and perhaps power and status from this alleged relationship with Trump. The former president has always denied any sexual relationship with Daniels and has claimed that she really only spoke in order to get money out of him. Now, Daniels, in her response to this questioning, says actually she was overall negatively impacted by coming forward, she says, to tell the truth about her story. She said she had to move homes several times. She says that her safety was at risk. She was threatened. She says she actually had to pay out, or was ordered to pay out, because she lost a defamation case against Donald Trump. So really, she says all of this has had a negative impact on her and not a positive one. Trump's team have repeatedly tried to show that all of this is really a smear campaign, a political smear by his political opponents. He is, of course, running to be president once again at the end of this year, and they think this is all a ploy to keep him off the campaign trail and instead inside a courtroom.
That's reporter Sally Patterson in New York. For more analysis on what unfolded inside Trump's trial today, we are joined by legal analyst Bernarda Villalona. She is a former New York prosecutor and now a criminal defense attorney. Thanks so much for making time for us this afternoon, Bernarda.
Thank you for having me.
So Stormy Daniels, her testimony is done. More than 7 hours of testimony over these past 2 days. What do you think? Did she help or hurt the prosecution's case?
I can tell you this, while it was a nice day yesterday and today outside, it was definitely a stormy day inside of that courtroom. Stormy Daniels definitely gave us some details having to deal with her encounter with Donald Trump. So when it comes to whether she helped the prosecution, really, it doesn't matter whether the jury believes her or not, because she doesn't prove any elements or goes to the elements of falsifying business records. But what she did do was hurt the defense in the sense that she gave very salacious details of her encounter with Donald Trump, but also about the smear campaign that Donald Trump had against her. And also take into account that during the cross-examination, especially today, I think that it backfired on Donald Trump's attorney because they tried to shame her for who she was and what she did back then. And I think jurors may have some pity for her based on that smear campaign and try to shame her for who she was.
Yeah, how do you think overall jurors jurors would have taken in her testimony?
So the question would be is that at the end of the trial, the judge is going to give jury instructions as to credibility, how to evaluate credibility. And one of those main factors is taken into account Stormy Daniels, as well as every other witness, how they perform on the stand, how's their body language, how do they speak, how do they answer the questions, are they aggressive, does it seem that they're hiding anything? But I think Stormy Daniels, she was very upfront. She didn't try to be someone that she's not. Like, she was very upfront as to who she was, and she answered the questions even though it made her look bad. So I think that part of it made her look credible and believable that there was this sexual encounter with Donald Trump. But more importantly, despite her, whether you believe she had this sexual encounter or not, it's all up to what did Donald Trump believe? Did Donald Trump believe that this woman was capable of going to the media and give out this story to the media, and the need for him to actually have to pay this woman because he didn't want this to affect his campaign and then later on disguise those payments? That's really the crucial question when it comes to Stormy Daniels. So whether she lied or didn't lie, it's all about what Donald Trump believed in terms of having to shut this woman up.
Bernarda, I mentioned that the defense wants to move for a mistrial again, and I wonder, or they're saying again that they want to do this. I wonder what you make of that.
So yesterday, the defense did move for a mistrial, and Judge Merchan clearly denied that. And today, they're moving for another mistrial, or plan to move for another mistrial. And their basis is that they're saying that Stormy Daniels gave so much prejudicial information that was not relevant for the charges in this case, that her information, her testimony was so damning and not relevant that it prejudices Donald Trump, and he's not able to get a fair trial, that instead they're going to base his guilt, the decision to the verdict, on what Stormy Daniels said having nothing to do with this case. Now, again, it was denied, but at least the defense preserved the record in order to be able to appeal if there was a conviction. No, Judge Merchan did say some of this is on you, defense, because you didn't object to a lot of this testimony coming in. So you should have objected so I could have taken action. So that is something that the defense walked into. Also, looking into today when they were questioning Stormy Daniels. Now, they knew what she was capable of saying, but yet they went back into that night talking about that encounter. And at one point they said, well, these sexual acts that you had as a porn star, some of them, it's made up, you know, it's false. And she was like, it wasn't false. It was real, just how that night with Donald Trump was real. So that backfired on the defense. And with that information coming out, it makes it very hard for Judge Merchan to grant a mistrial when the defense called for a type of answer like that.
Now, Bernarda, Donald Trump left the court just a few moments ago. He didn't say anything on his way out, as he has on past days. But he did talk on the way in. And we've got a clip of that. I want to listen to it together just to get your thoughts on it. So let's take a listen.
I just want to let you know that we've just filed a major motion in the appellate division concerning the absolutely unconstitutional gag order, where I'm essentially not allowed to talk to you about anything meaningful that's going on in the case, and many good things are going on with the case. It shouldn't have been filed.
What do you make of, of that, Bernarda, but of his, continued talk about the trial and, breaking the rules? He's been held in contempt multiple times now.
So when you're dealing with Donald Trump, you have to think that he's catering to two audiences. He's catering to the jury itself, what's going on in the courtroom, but also he's mindful. And I think it actually, for him, is a driving force, is a court of public opinion, because he is running to be president. So he's very concerned of what is being said inside of the courtroom, and he wants to be able to combat that by talking in the media about what's going on inside of the courtroom, and specifically what the witnesses are saying, but specifically what Stormy Daniels said yesterday, what Stormy Daniels said today. You can tell by how damning the cross-examination was, because there was stuff that came out that had nothing to do with, of course, the charges, but instead it seemed like trying to clean up Donald Trump. In terms of that statement that he made, that statement doesn't violate the gag order, because he's just saying the gag order in general. What will violate the gag order is if he talks about any of the witnesses, if he talks about any of the jurors, if he talks about any of the court staff, or any of the assistant district attorneys or assistant district attorneys staff in the office itself. But also just remember, he's mindful because Judge Merchan already warned him, hey, you violate the gag order again, I may have to put you in jail.
Bernarda, it's definitely a component of this that we'll continue to watch, as well as the trial itself. Great to get your thoughts on it today. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
That was former prosecutor Bernarda Villalona.